You are listening to the USDN on the DSPN.
It's a trap!
What is up, everyone, and welcome to the United States Department of Nerds, where we are for the people, by the people, and of the people. And I scrolled down too far. Let me hop in here. So some warriors inherit swords, some inherit kingdoms, but some forge their legacy across galaxies. Tonight, we step beyond medieval walls and into something far larger, a universe where knighthood isn't bound to a kingdom, it's bound to destiny. For 15 years, one creator has been building that universe piece by piece, chapter by chapter, outside the mainstream and outside of the machine. Self-published, independent, and unapologetically epic. This is the story of a knight's title. The Council of Nerds is now in session. Russell, welcome to the USDN.
I'm glad to be here. It's good to be here.
We are happy to have you here. We've had you on the books for quite a while now, and glad that we're here now tonight to get this going and to get a knight's title out here to the council and to everybody else who may be listening later on. So before a knight's title was a saga, and before readers and before episodes, where did this original spark come from?
Oh, well, I've been writing since I was probably in elementary school. They used to, at least when I was in school, which is a while ago now, they used to always push creative writing, and that was something that I always excelled in, and that's kind of where it all kind of started from. And then, I was writing a couple of books, and this idea kind of always surfaced there, and for a long time, I just couldn't encapsulate it into a single book, and I didn't know what to do, and then finally, it originally originated on Amazon's Kindle Vella, but they went out of business essentially, so I had to move it. But that's ultimately where it came from. Was I started in elementary school writing and grew and became.
Your last bit of audio almost completely cut out on us.
Oh, yeah, no, I was saying how it really just originated from elementary school, from just, constantly, writing from elementary school. And I mean, whether you're watching, anime or cartoons or what it is, that stuff feeds into you as a creator. And
Yeah.
that really all just, you can see it in the work itself, how it's been influenced by King Arthur, by different animes, like you could say One Piece, you could say Yu Yu Hakusho, but then you also get into all of these different comics, whether it's Guardians of the Galaxy or hell, Green Lantern, which now they have the Lantern show that's going to be coming out. So
Yep.
there's
They
tons of
dropped the
different
first teaser
influences.
today.
Yeah.
So you've been writing for 15 years. So what has kept you committed to the craft for this long?
I've gotten that question before. And to be honest, it really just is I've put in way too much work, way too much, the old cliche, blood, sweat, and tears into it. And
Yeah.
I've come this far. And I've been too much to turn back now. So I'm gonna just stick into it for the long haul, and fingers are crossed that one day, I get some big movie deal. We'll see. We'll see. Jury's
Mhm.
still out.
No, dude. And dude, that's the best way to go about it, man. So was self-publishing always the plan, or was this kind of born out of necessity like all of us?
Yeah, necessity. It really is necessity. I mean, you can't get into big publishers without an agent, and it's almost impossible to get an agent because they're very basically they want to work with the pre-existing authors or whatever
Hmm.
you have. They just kind of want to stick with that. So it's almost impossible to break in. So it really has become a necessity. I have no choice. And I'm gonna still keep pushing to try and get into the to that world, but if I don't, I
Yeah.
don't. I'm just gonna stay. There's been tons of self-published stuff that has essentially gotten bigger than any big publisher could ever get it. So
Hmm. No, I mean you're spot on that. So a knight's title isn't traditional medieval fantasy. It blends sci-fi and interstellar scope. When did you decide to kind of expand this beyond the classic sword and shield territory and into the more sci-fi realm with knights?
so I am a big Highlander fan. That movie played a huge factor with me, and so I always loved swords. And when I was making up this original idea, it was like, I need something that kind of separates it from a lot of other stuff where sci-fi wise, and they don't use just swords. So that played into it. And then I'm a huge Star Wars fan. You can kind of see Star Wars in this. And it's kind of just meld it together. And that's where it all really came from.
Okay. No, I mean, if you, I love both of them. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, obviously. I love Highlander. Before we go to the next question, though, how do you feel
Yeah.
about the new Highlander movie?
I'm very excited for it. I like Henry Cable, so I think he's going to try and stay true to the originals in while kind of also expanding on it. So from what I've seen, I mean they've only released a couple of pictures from it, but
Mhm.
I have faith in it. So
Yeah, and knowing the way Henry is, he will stay as true as he possibly can to the source material.
yeah, agreed.
So in a knight's title, what does knighthood mean in your universe? Is it symbolic? Is it a literal, or is it philosophical within your universe?
So knights in a knight's title is more so a kind of like how you have soldiers. It is a kind of a mission because there is ultimately what I call a blood ability, which would be superpower in the comic
You're
world.
completely breaking up right now.
Here, all right, hear me?
Yes, now, yeah, now you're good. Whatever
All
you
right,
just did, you're good.
okay, yeah. Yeah, no, knights is like soldiers. They're not. It's kind of like just a position. I wouldn't say
Mhm.
that it's a like knighthood like we think of it. Although to some degree, knights were soldiers. Uh, but the knights specifically are a certain group because in here we have the blood ability, which in comic world would be superpowers. Uh, and in order to be a quote unquote knight, that is ultimately someone would have to have a blood ability in order to be a knight. There are other rankings and classifications across the a
Yeah.
knight's title universe, which I call the armoring. But for knight specifically, it was a specific like soldier type role.
Okay. But So you've built this as an episodic saga. Why serialize it instead of like a traditional volume release?
So originally, it was just solely the fact that I did not have enough of a fleshed out story for start to finish.
Hmm.
And the best way that I could explain the reason for episodic was the fact that I had published some stuff through Amazon Kindle, and then
Yeah.
Kindle launched Kindle Vella, which was episodic short, and they kept kind of hounding me. I guess they did to everybody who was publishing through Amazon Kindle. And in the beginning, I was like, I have nothing for this. I have nothing. And then after they kind of did like a third round of trying to get people to do it, um, I was kind of working with the story again, trying to build it more, trying to flesh it out more. And it clicked with me that, well, this would be more better off as an episodic thing where I don't need an end goal in mind. I can just start writing it what I have and just go forward with it that way. So that's really how the episodic style
Okay.
came about.
Dude, that makes plenty of sense when you put it like that. I mean, and I wish there were more stories like that done on a grander scale like yours. You know what I'm saying?
It is something that you don't really see much maybe outside of the manga world,
Yeah.
that they're more so the episodic. You don't see the end goal in mind. So I
Hmm.
guess that's the closest thing you get to it. I also have this thing of where every episode kind of, it doesn't always follow the same characters every episode.
Yeah.
So we'll branch out into different groups of characters, episodes. You'll get themes in different episodes, like different genres. You might go from, straight up adventure in one episode to horror in the next episode. So it
Hmm.
kind of does have this just variety that you could go through.
No, I like that. And you actually answered the very next question by doing that. So without a major
Yeah,
publisher behind you,
it's,
how do you
I've been
manage to
lost.
approach world building without limits?
Oh, that's a,
Did you
that
catch
is a good
that?
question. That is actually something that I'm always, yeah, that's actually something that I always worry about
Hmm.
is the OP level stuff where it's like, this is kind of getting out of control. So, yeah, the only way I could say the way that I approach it is that I just go based off of, if I was reading this from someone else, would I get turned off by thinking, oh, this is too ridiculous for me? And that's kind of the way that I've approached just writing in general was,
Hmm.
would I want to read this from someone else? So yeah, that's kind of how I I also try and get feedback from friends, and that I'll shoot them some stuff and
Yeah.
see what they think of it. And I have a couple of friends that will be honest with me and be like, it's
That's
trash,
so hard to find. You
or
better
they'll
keep
they'll
them.
tell me that I'm on the right path. Yeah, it is really hard because sometimes people will just tell you, oh, it's wonderful, it's
Hmm.
wonderful. And when they get too much like that, when someone's too much like that, I'm like, something's not right here, something's fishy. But
Yeah.
especially because as a creator, you're usually your own biggest critic, so you do need someone who's got these kind of.
No, and it's hard to find, and I try to be like when I'm asked to review stuff, like I try to be as honest about it as possible while also like not pissing on it as well. So for me, I know
Sure.
exactly what you
I
mean.
I I love the criticism. I love the feedback. So
Mhm.
sometimes I like when someone's a little more harsher than normal. So that would not be something that necessarily bothered me.
No, that's good because you got to have a thick skin when you're doing anything, comic books, short stories, podcasting. It doesn't matter, man. People can say some mean stuff, and all you can do is be like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Opinions
especially
are like
nowadays,
assholes, everybody has one.
yeah, and everybody can see it. Everybody can comment. So if you're going to be thin-skinned about it, you're not in the right industry.
100%. 100% on that one. So, as an independent creator, what do you think is the biggest misconception about self-publishing?
I would say the biggest misconception about self-publishing would probably be the fact that most people kind of into it, you're in, and you're going to have an audience,
Mhm.
and it is the first from the truth. You have to grind and work and annoy people to get audience. I have the advertisement arm of the publishers. So
Yeah.
if you're not willing to put in work and kind of get social media savvy and try and figure out the algorithms to get into those specific lanes where you're going to find an audience, you're not going to really make it.
It's so hard. Like, just finding what works. And for me, what has, and I don't even want to say it works 100% because it doesn't, is so for me, when I do like the hype videos or I go to share the shorts and the reels, I always try to tag the
Yeah.
person who's been on the podcast already, whose reel it is, and hopefully it attracts
Mhm.
some of their audience and that they're also into the indies and that kind of stuff, or if they're just a fan of that person, which is a lot of what I get. Is like, I know I will notice, like, I'll have a flux of followers, whether it's Instagram
Mhm.
or Instagram's one of them, and then YouTube's the worst one, where I'll get like a good 3 to maybe 10 people. They will start following the podcast on YouTube or Instagram, and they'll only be on there while the system is about their person. You know what I'm saying? And then they're gone.
Yeah.
I will have a list of unfollows. I'll notice I've dropped like 5 followers on Facebook, or not Facebook, but on YouTube. And I'm like, okay, that's a trend you have to recognize and just not let it hurt your feelings. It's not you, it's them, because they're just there to get that
Yeah.
notification that, hey, the guy they like is on the podcast, whether it's their cousin, brother, sister, whoever. And then once they've seen it, they're gone.
Yep.
So I take into account those now. So when I see those onesies and
Yeah.
twosies, or those 3 to 5 people bounce after a certain episode, I automatically know. I'm like, oh, okay, they were there for this one person and now they're gone.
Yeah,
But
it really does. You kind of, especially if when you're writing and you're writing a certain genre, and that's not the same constant thing that's going on. Yeah, you'll pick up some readers and then you'll lose them just as fast
yep.
if they're not into what comes next. So yeah, I definitely understand that.
And again, that goes back to having the thick skin and just understanding, like, that's part of the territory.
Yeah.
So what has been some of the hardest lessons you've learned early on when you started all this?
It would be the fact that it wasn't easy. I kind of did go into this thinking that, because I kind of came into it when, all the self-publishing stuff really started to kick off. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of came into it thinking that, oh, this means that, I can self-publish because I can't seem to get into the big publishers, and I can get just as big right out the gate. And it was kind of, a rude awakening, finding that, oh no, this is not easy. It is going to be
Mm-hmm.
hard. It is going to have to be something that you're going to fail at. You're going to fail at it quite a bit, and you just got to learn from that. And that's kind of been the biggest thing. I mean, my favorite quote is from Samuel Beckett. Ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. So I've
Oh
just
yeah,
kind of lived by that.
dude, nailed it, man. Spot on. The amount of podcasts I see pop up within, like, the indie comic book groups on Facebook, and then they're gone. They're like a flash in
Yeah.
the pan, because they really don't realize, A, it's hard, B, it
Yeah.
costs money, and you're probably not making any off the podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It is something you have to be dedicated to.
100%. You either all in, or you might as well just
Yeah.
pack up your bags and go ahead and go.
I
So
completely agree with that.
So you've developed a dedicated readership over time. How did you build loyalty without the mainstream exposure? And I know you answered a little bit of that earlier with marketing on social media, but it's really hard to find that specific niche of people, though.
Oh, still is. I mean, I also kind of thought because, a knight's title it's kind of in that superhero genre to some
Mm-hmm.
degree. I kind of thought that I would pull, a good chunk of, readers from that. And it's not easy, no matter what you're kind of telling, what kind of story you're doing, what you got going on. It really is just that you got to be constant. You got to constantly put stuff out. I've made it where I'm putting out basically 2 seasons a year, or I'm putting out a season and then I'm putting out some extra episodes, like specialty stuff, like I had
Yeah.
mentioned, uh, intermission shorts or annuals, just so that I can kind of just keep it out there because it needs to stay relevant. Jeremy
Mm-hmm.
Hahn, he's a comic book writer, artist, for the beauty. He had told me once that you got to constantly have stuff out there, constantly put stuff out. That's the only way to keep an audience, there with you.
Oh yeah. No, and that's spot on. Like I hadn't posted shorts in a while, and I noticed like the moment you're not posting them, like your viewership just tanks. So that like literally
Yeah,
today I was like scheduling shorts to start coming back out. Just it's tiring. It's a lot of work, but ain't nobody doing the work but you.
it has to be you. No one else will do it for
Yeah.
you.
Unless you got the money to pay. And if the podcast or if the book ain't making money, you're self-employed.
Yeah, that is for sure. And my grandmother always used to say, like, if you want something done right, do it yourself. And I've
100%.
found that is really the only way to do it, really, anyways, is just make sure it's done right.
Yep. So what role does consistency play in your long form storytelling?
It's probably the biggest thing. It's also the hardest thing, is to tell a consistent long story, especially when you don't, because I I don't know the story is ending. That's a question I get constantly is, oh, do you know when it's ending? Do you know how it's ending? I don't. I like the characters kind of speak to me as I'm writing them, and the story unfolds as it goes. There'll be serendipitous things that occur later on in an episode that somehow perfectly tie into something from earlier on. And so consistency, the story has to remain consistent. I do a lot of
Mhm.
note taking and I plot things out, and I will constantly go back to that stuff to try and make sure that I don't make an error where the story no longer is
Yeah.
consistent, where something happens that contradicts something else. That alone is a ton of work, and that alone I think is why there are a lot of people that will love storytelling, but yet they can't seem to really make anything out of it because they don't want to work in to be consistent and make sure everything works out.
Oh yeah. So, and it's funny that you mentioned taking notes. Like I use Notepad for all my interviews. That's how I write everything down. And it's the free program that comes with your PC, right? But I have a single
Yeah,
notepad, one page of notepad saved within every file folder for my interviews that I do. And it's just like my catchphrases at the bottom and at the top. That way, when I'm writing, they're
yeah,
always there. That way, I always have them and they're always there. And I can, ever since I've made them, I'm like, this will go into a notepad and each notepad will then paste it and then renamed with the name of the person. And it's just so it's consistency, right? And it's remembering, to have
yeah,
that one key part that makes what is yours yours. So
yeah.
100% take notes on your own
It is
writing,
that
people.
consistency.
And
Yeah, you have to stay
consistency is,
consistent.
yeah, and it's the biggest thing. I've seen it in mainstream comic books, just like this dude's been writing comic books for 25 years for Marvel, and his shit still ain't consistent. Like he forgets his own stuff. Because otherwise, why is
Yeah.
this in this story when this thing died in that, issue? So yeah, huge footnote out there for people. Consistency.
It is the sword that storytelling lives or dies by. So
100%. So if a creator listening right now is building their own universe, what's the first thing they need to understand?
oh, I would say that the first thing that a creator needs to understand when making their own universe is that it's your universe. Uh, sure, you need to be able to essentially be open enough where you can attract an audience, but it is yours. So you need to make it yours. You sometimes take influence from stuff that you love, take what you got, but ultimately you got to put your own twist on stuff. You have to kind of give this brand new story for people to read, for people to enjoy. And ultimately, I think that is one of the issues with, whether it's Hollywood or comic books or books in general nowadays, is that most people are too bent and focused on, kind of retelling the same stories. So if you're making your own universe, sure, I've taken tons of influences from stuff, but you have to be able to put your own twist on it. You have to be able to make it your own. It has to be you in order for something to really just kind of, for somebody to remember it. You need them to remember it.
Mm-hmm. And you don't want the copyright strikes.
Lawsuits are a big no. So yes, change some
Well, the
stuff up.
copyright
Change some
strikes,
stuff up.
and then the lawsuits come if you don't follow up on those copyright strikes.
Yeah, yeah. We don't want paperwork to fill out. The only stuff we want to fill out is story. So
100%. So you are active online. You are King Dark Heart. Brandon has
yep.
personality. Where did that name come from? Please tell me it was
I've
D&D.
actually
We don't hate.
uh
We love
so
D&D.
no, it was not D&D, but you could say it was as close to that as possible. Just growing up with friends, we used to make our own games that we would
Oh
play.
yeah.
We would create kind of characters sort of like you would in D&D, but we would kind of LARP them.
Oh
And
yeah.
that was something that I made for myself, and that was something that stuck. And then it got to the point where social media came around, and they said, "Oh, make a username." And I was like, "Oh, well, this is what I usually use when I'm doing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to use this." And then it became, well, I kind of want to use this constantly, consistently, and so I just every single platform that popped up, I used it, and that's where it came from. So,
No, so and that's actually amazing because people have to realize and understand that identity is important in storytelling and in branding,
yeah,
especially in the indie world. You have to have something that when they see it, they know it's you and they know what you represent.
yep. Yeah,
So,
that's what I was kind of saying with someone wanting to make their own universe, make it you. And part of that is identity, brand, like you have to make that you. And I mean, it's worked for me, and so it can work for pretty much anybody.
that's how the chairman was born.
Yeah. Can't
Nobody
not.
wants to sit here and listen
I
to
mean,
Jeff, I'll tell you that. But you start calling yourself the chairman of something and people pay attention.
hey, when it works, it works.
Dude, it is working now. I'm not going to complain about it. That's for sure. So, what is next for a knight's title?
So I am actually you had asked about physical stuff. I
Yeah,
There is
yeah.
an
Before we
omnibus
went
one.
live.
Yep, there's an omnibus one that contains season 1 through season 6. Uh, right now, season 9 will come out later this year, so we're working on our way towards the omnibus 2. But I will also be releasing a physical hard version of the spin-off series, Drake Cage, The Golden Armed Knight. The physical version will be called the Golden Knight Saga. That'll be coming out later this year, probably in November is when I'm looking to
Okay.
kind of shoot that out. But it'll be a physical book. This way, again, people, they love the internet, but they don't always like to consume their
Mhm.
stuff through the internet. So I'm starting to release certain things. That physical for the spin-off will actually contain a exclusive episode that you can't read anywhere else. So,
Smart
making the things
marketing.
your own, putting your own twist on it. You need something to get people to, buy that, or to read that. And I figured I'm going to put in a story in there that's exclusive to that, and that story will actually end up connecting with a couple of other short stories that are going to be exclusive to certain things going forward.
No, I like it. You make it yours. You make it something special, and it makes it more marketable. Smart marketing 101 right there. You drop
Absolutely.
an exclusive with an exclusive story on it that you can only get in the physical copy. It's genius. So let's jump into some rapid fire questions, Russ. You ready?
Absolutely.
Favorite fantasy universe?
My favorite fantasy, I'm going to say Star Wars.
See, that would have been the sci-fi one. That was next, but I will take Star Wars as an answer for both.
See, Star Trek is sci-fi. Star Wars is fantasy.
Okay, hey, potatoes and potatoes. Star Wars
Very
was an
true.
acceptable answer for both, in my opinion, because I am a Star Wars guy, not a Star Trek guy. So, what was a book that influenced you to become a writer?
Oh, there's been a couple of books. Growing up, uh, I always pronounce it wrong. Aragon,
It,
dragon book.
I
Yes,
know
that
what
was
you're
one.
talking about.
Now, granted, again, high school, we book fans, and that was one book absolutely won it, and that was a book that I bought. And that book had influenced me greatly going through.
Mhm.
I don't know if people consider comic books, but
I do because there's book
there
in
were
the
a couple
title.
comic books. True, very true. You read them. So, but yeah, Zero Hour from DC
Okay.
with Hal Jordan, being
Yep.
the big bad, that influenced me greatly. Odd little fact that also made Hal Jordan my favorite character in comic books. Kind of a weird twist, hot take, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you're the
yeah,
one person
I would say
who
that
roots for Hal Jordan.
I love Hal Jordan. Absolutely not
Again,
too psyched about his suit,
ladies and gentlemen, we have found that
in
one
that
person.
Lanterns teaser. Hey, let's leave Ryan Reynolds out of this. But yes,
Ooh.
I would say that, whether it was Aragon or, some with
Yeah.
comic books, that's kind of what really pushed me into it.
So, if a Knight's title became a film or a series, would you want live action or animation?
It's a good question, and I've said it to many people that the goal with it is an animated series. I'm looking for longevity wise and just knowing actors age, and well, now with AI, who knows, but animated wise, I think it would definitely pertain better to the overall long story format. I think that,
Mhm.
voice acting, they can voice act for a long time. I think the
Yeah.
longevity of animated is what I want. I think it also fits it much better than live action.
Yeah.
But I would not be opposed to live action.
Okay. One word that describes your world building style.
Grand.
I like
I'm
it.
a grand world builder. So everything's kind of big. Go big or go home was kind of the idea that popped in my head when I started all this.
Yeah. So, coffee, tea, or energy drinks while you're working?
Oh, coffee. I drink so much coffee, it's not even funny. I always make the joke that when I die, I'll probably still keep going for 3 weeks because of all the coffee I've consumed. So, yeah, it's coffee. Coffee without a
Oh yeah.
doubt.
Your favorite character you've written?
Oh, my favorite character I've written. That that would that would actually end up being for something that has not come out yet. Uh, it's kind of a medieval, just pure medieval style story.
Hmm.
It's a character in that it's very kind of more so philosophical than a lot of stuff that I
Yeah.
kind of write more so, the sci-fi fantasy stuff. But the character in that is kind of been my favorite character that I've ever written. It's kind of really deep, kind of really makes you think about stuff. It really makes you think about life.
Okay. Um, the most rewarding part of being an indie author?
Oh, it's just you're kind of more connected to people who read it, who consume
Yeah.
your content. When the downside to kind of being in the bigger side of it, big publisher or Hollywood or whatever, you kind of get
Hmm.
separated from the people that consume it. And I think it can kind of, when that happens, you can kind of lose track of what you're doing and why you do it.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. One piece of advice for creators trying to build their own universe.
Never give up. Just never give up. Keep going. I mean, unless you truly come to the conclusion that, this is not for you,
Hmm.
just keep going. I mean, you could literally be one story away from going viral and you know getting all this attention that you've been looking for and for your stuff to reach a much larger and grander audience. And if you end up giving up on it, that'll never happen. So that's kind of been what I've stuck to, is just not giving up, just keep going.
Yeah. All right, Russ. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I don't think you need 2 minutes. Sell a knight's title to everyone.
All right, let's do this. So, the next title, it's a neo-mythic world that sucks you in. It introduces you to characters that make you question who you are as a person, and makes you realize that the overall world that you live in is kind of just grander than what you think it is every day. It makes you realize that the person next to you is just as grand as you are, and the story will reflect a lot of moments in your life, whether it's happy moments or the sad, as I've been known to write tragedy a lot. And a knight's title, just it kind of washes away all the concerns that you have about life, sucks you in. It makes you just feel like you're on a ride of your life, and you never want to put it down. You just want the next episode. That's my biggest problem, is I don't have the next episode soon enough for you guys. So that is
Good
what a
problem to
night's
have.
title is for. Absolutely. You can never not have the next episode fast enough. Especially, I mean, we're in this world where everybody wants the things right now, and I'm not fast enough yet.
I think we all run into that problem. So, Russell, tell everybody where they can
Yeah.
find you and the knight's title.
So you can find me on pretty much on any social media platform at King Dark Heart. But its title, you can find and check it out at anightstitle.com. That'll take you right to it. There is the omnibus, which is available on Amazon. But in general, if you want to find it, it's at anightstitle.com.
There you have it, folks. Russ, I want to thank you for coming on tonight, sharing a knight's title with everybody. I know we've had a little bit of microphone issues. Hopefully it doesn't bleed through. We'll see. I'm hoping that isn't the case. I'm hoping when I go to listen back later, everything sounds perfect and it's just my headset, which it very well could be. So I will let you know either way on that. Yeah. But every universe begins with a single decision to write, to build, to keep going, even when no one is watching. Russell didn't wait for permission. He didn't wait for a gatekeeper. He built his own galaxy, and that is the indie spirit. And here at USDN, that's what we spotlight. Russell, again, thank you for stepping into the council tonight. And to everyone watching, if you believe in creator-owned worlds, if you believe in building something from nothing, support indie storytellers. Subscribe, follow Russell, dive into a knight's title, because the future of storytelling, it isn't inherited, it's forged. Ladies and gentlemen, the Council of Nerds is adjourned, and this has been the USDN Podcast, where indie comics come to life. Y'all stay safe out there.
It was good seeing you.
Yep.
It's a trap!
Hey, Russ.